what better way to finish up this season of hitting the books by saving the best for last here on our final edition of the show for the season, the 2 college football playoff semifinal games right at the end of the show. Let's break them down. We will start with the Fiesta Bowl. The TCU, and you hear them in the background. TCU and Michigan, the first semifinal Fiesta Bowl. We've got Michigan here currently laying at this point 7.5-point favorites, 58.5 being the total in this game. This one's very fascinating because TCU catching points, it can be appealing. This is the game of the two that I don't really have a strong feel for right now compared to the other one, which we'll get to. We know TCU, though, catching points has been very good. 7.5-point dogs at Texas. They won that game outright. 5-point dogs against Oklahoma. They won that game outright. So the few times we've seen TCU in the underdog role this year, they have gotten the job done. 2-0 ATS as underdogs this year. The Horned Frogs. Feels like you're getting a lot of points with them. There's no question about that. At the same time, though, Michigan's running game, which I don't think has shown one bit that it suffers very much at all, even with Blake Corum banged up down the stretch, as Donovan Edwards has come in and been great. J.J. McCarthy, I think, has been exemplary and gotten much better late in the season in terms of the passing game. His yards per pass numbers grew through the roof against Ohio State and Purdue, those 2 victories to end the season. There's really a lot to like here about the way Michigan's playing right now. I'm not saying I'll be on Michigan, but I know the money's come in on TCU. I think it's one of those games where TCU, when it opened 9.5, if you wanted to take the points with TCU, I can see it. And you see this kid, Max Duggan, Kendre Miller and all the weapons they have, and the way Duggan just leaves it all out on the field. You say, how can we go against this guy as an underdog of more than a touchdown? But I think there's going to be some concerns about the TCU defense that I had. I didn't love their run defense against Kansas State in the Big 12 title game. And now you're facing a team that runs it even better with the Michigan Wolverines. So I see Michigan winning this football game. That's why I'm not going to be on TCU. In fact, if this line were to be below a touchdown, which I don't think it'll ever get to that point, but if it got to like a 6.5, 6 type of deal, I'd probably lay it with the Wolverines in this game, but it's probably not going to get there. I don't have and the total to me, TCU overs have kind of cooled off down the stretch. They've really slowed down their pace as well. They're not playing with the tempo they did early in the year under Sonny Dykes. And Michigan, is going to be ball control, run heavy. They can have big plays, but they are obviously not going to hurry to the line of scrimmage. So that kind of tempts my enthusiasm with looking at an over once again involving TCU. So it's right now a game, side or total, I don't have a strong feel on. Might be more of a live betting situation for me. Conor, what do you think here? Semifinal number 1, college football playoff, Fiesta Bowl, TCU, Michigan.
Yeah, this could be, of course, these big games, I always think they're great to live bet. You're watching them, everything you can move. But Michigan, I think they win this game. Now that they cover, I don't know. But I think I got to stick with my thing. I think if you like TCU, I might have a piece in it. It's a long ways away, but first half, we've just seen Michigan come out a little slow. Harbaugh, the playbook's a little slow here. And then they turn it on in the second half. And I did it in the last game with Purdue, right at halftime, took Michigan. They cleaned house. I think that can be similar here. So TCU's defense, that's the big key. I think they can score here, on Michigan. But their defense, I think Michigan can run on them, like you mentioned, in this one. Man, Michigan wins. I just don't know if they cover. They probably even cover this game. But I'm going to wait on it. But I think I'm going to roll still TCU early here, first half.
I get concerned, too, because they gave up 31 to Kansas State, 28 to Baylor. They gave up 31 to West Virginia, 40 to Oklahoma State, 31 to Kansas, TCU. The more I look at the TCU defensive numbers, they gave up, points to defense, to offenses that, aren't really, I think, the explosiveness of some of like a Michigan, for instance. Plus, if they had played Ohio State, in the Big Ten, TCU, I think they probably would have given up 30 or 40 to Ohio State as well. A lot of their good defensive games were against, some very, mediocre, meandering offenses. So, and they really got by because of that. This is going to be a tough challenge, I think, for the TCU defense here.
But
So
Max Duggan, that kid, don't count him out. I'm just
heart of the
saying.
lion.
So,
Yep.
yeah, don't count him out.
Don't count him out. Warrior mentality. I think your thought process is spot on in terms of if you like TCU, I think the first half might be the better option. We've seen, you're right, Michigan has taken, the first half to really get their feet wet, get into the game. Then they make their adjustments, and they've just been a beast in the second half. Just ask Ohio State, just ask Purdue,
Huge.
Rutgers, Indiana, so many examples on their schedule this year where they were kind of mediocre in the first half, and then they just hit the gas pedal in the second half and turned a close game into a blowout. And that's the concern here for TCU, that happens again. And they make this line look short when it's all said and done. So, but again, this Duggan kid, man, he is a warrior. He's got a winning mentality, and he will leave it all out on the field once again here, like he's done all season long. But I think what I might do is TCU first half and then a live bet Michigan. It just makes perfect sense because so many of these Michigan games have gone that way, where team hangs around for a half and then it's Michigan putting their dominance on the game in the second half. We'll see if that goes that way.